Hello, everybody. This is the Modern Day Prophet, and welcome to my channel. The universe is not what you think it is. And this video was going to be titled, There is Only One Real Solution to the Conflict Between Israel and Palestine. And if you're over 40, this is not the first time we've seen this. We have seen this play out many times before, where Israel is attacked with terrorist attacks and then Israel retaliates in turn. And I just want to give my thoughts on this situation because I should give my thoughts because of who I am. And I promise you I'm going to give a take on this that I doubt you're going to hear anywhere else. But anyway, I was on my news feed, and I don't even follow the news. It's just too depressing. So I was on my news feed, and I happened to read about these terrorist attacks that were happening in Israel. And I'm not going to lie, man, I was horrified. My blood began to boil. I'm like, man, I just couldn't believe what I was reading. And, I was thoroughly disgusted with what was happening to civilians in Israel, the Israeli civilians. And I just couldn't believe. I'm like, here we go again. And then, a while later, I began reading about the Israeli response. And I'm not going to lie, my blood began to boil again. And I was also horrified at the Israeli response. So, let's just start at the beginning with this and identify who's to blame here. Who's really to blame? Who's the real villain here? The villain, the primary people who are to blame for all of this taking place is Hamas. Let's be clear. Hamas are the ones responsible for all of this happening. Hamas is a terrorist organization. They have always been a terrorist organization. They will always be a terrorist organization. They are a scourge on the region that needs to be eliminated. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like I said, we've seen all of this play out time after time. And to be honest, enough is enough. It's time to do something about it. Because, as I'm going to talk about in a little bit, there's a certain people who always seem to take the brunt of all of this, which I will get to shortly. But and I really need for any Muslims watching this video right now to listen up. I really need y'all to understand where I'm coming from in terms of what I'm about to say, because Hamas has been given a free hand for far too long. Everybody wants to blame Israel for what's happening in the region, and it's not Israel's fault. Israel is not the one starting this. They are responding to it, and I don't agree with the responses a lot, and I'm going to talk about that as well. But Israel has a right to defend itself. Any nation has a right to defend itself from terrorism. Nobody should have to deal with this. So, like I said, Hamas are the villains here. They're the ones responsible for most of what's happening. But they're not the only villains. Now, let's talk about the other people who are also responsible for this. And that's what we call the Palestinian government. The old PLF. Mahmoud Abbas and company. These people are also responsible because they're weak, pathetic, and corrupt. And they let Hamas run roughshod all over them and the Palestinian people because they're too weak and corrupt to do anything about it. In fact, the PLF was also a terrorist organization. It's just that Hamas is a bigger, badder terrorist organization. They're bigger, badder terrorists than the PLF. And like I said, they run roughshod all over the PLF. So, the two entities responsible here are primarily Hamas and secondly, the Palestinian government, the weak, pathetic, corrupt government that hasn't done any good for the Palestinian people whatsoever. And these people, it is now time for them to be held accountable for their actions. So, Hamas, PLF, they're the ones responsible for all of this taking place right now. Now, let me speak about the Israeli response, which also greatly disturbed me. I feel like the Israeli response to this has been over the top, inhumane, and unintelligent. We've seen, like I said, we have seen this many, many times. The Israeli response always seems to target the Palestinian civilians. The Palestinian civilians who didn't have anything to do with this. They don't have anything to do with these attacks taking place on Israel. None. And it's just, I don't even know, man. Like I said, it disgusts me. The Israeli response has disgusted me almost just as much as the initial terrorism that was thrust upon Israel. Now, let me explain to you what I mean. For this case, I need all of the Jewish people around the world to listen up close to what I'm about to say. I really need y'all to understand where I'm coming from when I talk about the Israeli military response to this terrorism. As I said, I was reading the article. When I first read the article, I was absolutely disgusted. And I remember when I was reading, when I started looking at the comments and stuff, there was a lot of support for the Israelis. A lot of people were sympathizing. There was a lot of goodwill towards Israel for the terrorism that they just had to deal with. There was a lot of people supporting. And what did Israel do with all of that support and sympathy? They wiped their behinds with it and flushed it down the toilet. That's what they did. Because of their response, now Israel has looked at the bad guys. They looked at the bad guys now. And they played right into Hamas's hand once again. Once again, they played right into their hands. Let me explain this to y'all. You cannot pound the Palestinian people into submission to make them get so fed up that they somehow run Hamas out of the country. It is not going to happen. It has never happened before, and it never will happen. It can't happen. Didn't I just tell y'all that the Palestinian government can't even do anything about Hamas? They're totally ineffective. So how can we expect the Palestinian people to do anything about Hamas? The Israeli military can't even do anything about Hamas. All of the times they have tried this same sort of response, it has never even put a dent in Hamas. It has been totally ineffective against Hamas. And here they come again with the attacks again. And then after this, they'll come again. And it's never going to stop. This will never work. Not only is it unintelligent and inhumane, it's ineffective. It does not work. It never will work. And like I said, if Israel would have just held up on a response, they could have actually built up a lot of support from people around the world before they would have taken action. And then they might not be seen as the villains right now. And basically what has happened is now everybody's against Israel again, and people have totally forgotten about Hamas, the ones who started all of this in the first place. But I haven't forgot about Hamas, so let's refocus our attention back to the cockroaches in this region, the cockroach infestation that is Hamas. And what do you do when you have a cockroach infestation? You call an exterminator to exterminate the infestation. That's what has to happen to Hamas. There can be no peace in this region as long as Hamas is a part of the conversation. There can be no peace between Israel and Palestine as long as Hamas exists. And this also applies to the PLF. Hamas is a cockroach infestation, and the PLF is like a water bug infestation. They're two infestations that have to be completely removed. If you leave one roach behind, there's a chance they can start a new colony. The Hamas has to be completely annihilated, eradicated, eliminated from the situation, from the region, totally. everybody dead, all of their literature, tapes, videos burnt, burn it all. They have to be totally eradicated. That is the only way that peace can ever happen between Israel and Palestine. Now, the problem is, how do you eradicate Hamas? How do you get them out of there? Now, this is going to be my suggestion to Israel. I will call a meeting, with Egypt, Jordan, whoever else may want to participate. And Israel should recall all of their military forces from Palestine, bring them back to Israel so they can protect the Israelis, and tell Egypt, Jordan, whoever else will cooperate, we need a military coalition. We need to put together a military coalition that can go into Palestine and completely wipe out Hamas. And now, Israel may have to give some concessions to Egypt and Jordan and whoever else, but it will be worth it, because if they can put together an Israeli Muslim force to go in there and totally wipe out Hamas, I think it will look a lot better to the world, and it will be well received, because Hamas has to be taken out. In order for there to be any peace for the Palestinian people or the Israeli people, Hamas has to be totally eliminated. It just is what it is. And I guarantee you that once they are eliminated, that you're not just going to see celebrations on the Israeli side, you're going to see celebrations on the Palestinian side as well. I guarantee it. I guarantee you these Palestinian people hate Hamas just as much as everybody. Every time Hamas launches these attacks and Israel retaliates, it's the Palestinian civilians, the innocent Palestinian people, who always take the brunt of it. They always take the brunt of it. And it never changes anything. Hamas will attack again. Israel will retaliate. The Palestinian people will suffer. Wash, rinse, repeat. Well, enough is enough. Now it's time to really solve the issue. And the only way to solve it, like I said, Hamas has to be totally eradicated, eliminated, exterminated from the entire region. Now, once that happens, and the PLF also. If you don't want to exterminate them, they should at least be exiled or thrown in jail for the rest of their lives. They should not be allowed anywhere near a government seat or chair ever again. Not one member of any of Mahmoud Abbas's criminal, corrupt group. Not one. So, Israel has to realize that it's in their best interest for there to be a viable Palestinian state. There has to be that entity there that can cooperate with Israel. Israel is going to need them in order to keep the terrorists away. Now, this is the thing. The Palestinians have to form a government, a real government, a government that's strong enough to protect its people and to keep the terrorist threat away. They have to have that sort of stable government. Now, Israel can help this government. They're going to need Israel's help. They're going to be a lot better off once they realize, Palestine and Israel I'm talking about, that there's a lot more to be gained from cooperation than there is from war and hatred. Because Palestine is more than likely going to need Israel to help it build its infrastructure and help, with this public services and security forces and all of that stuff. And Israel is going to need Palestine to help them keep the terrorist threat out of the area. They're going to need each other. And, once that's done, there need to be lines drawn. And these lines cannot be violated. Once, we have a viable state of Palestine and Israel, their borders need to be created, and the borders have to be respected and maintained at all times. If any entity is to violate it, then they will have to answer to the world. I have a lot more to talk about this in terms of the world, in terms of creating a world, a peaceful, prosperous, secure world where everybody's not at war with each other, where we're not creating these phony boogeymen. This is the kind of world that we can create. We have to create it. If you're waiting for God to give it to you, he's not. going to give it to you. He gave you the intellect and the intelligence to create your own world, our own world. So if we want a good world, we have to create it. If we want this hellhole we have right now, this is our creation. The reason why the world is what it is right now is because of us. And if anybody can find anything unintelligent that I've said in this video today, please, write it in your comments. Man, I would love to hear it. As far as I can tell, everything I've said in this video is intelligent and unbiased. I'm not pro-Israeli. I'm not pro-Palestinian. I'm not anti-Israeli. I'm not anti-Palestinian. I'm pro-innocent civilians on the Israeli side and on the Palestinian side. That's who I'm for. And, and anybody who has any thoughts that they want to share, by all means, leave them in the comments. Like I said, on this channel, I'm not really interested in likes and stuff. I really could care less. All I care about is that the information is shared. So if you think that this video would benefit people, if you think people need to hear it, by all means, please share it. I'm going to go ahead and end the video. I thank everybody who watches the video. I love you all. Peace.